Good morning and welcome to Bibles for Breakfast. This morning we're continuing in Proverbs chapter 18. Let me just a little fine tuning here and let's get going. We ended up yesterday in verse 15. The prudent heart acquires knowledge, desires the prudent heart, the heart that's intent in seeking uh, an answer or a result, who deals wisely uh, with a person. Who the prudent heart acquires knowledge because they're looking for knowledge, and the ear of the wise seeks knowledge. It's what he looks for, it's what he wants to find, it's what he will not stop until he does find it. Verse 16, a man's gift makes room for him and brings him before great men. Now, we go back to what we talked about the other day, that when you went before a noble or a king or somebody who was of a higher social position than you were, you would always bring some sort of a small token of affection or honor. So here the implication is, if you bring that gift, if you bring something to show respect to the person that you're meeting for, it brings you, it makes a position for you, it opens a door for you to come in to an assembly or a place, because you've brought something of honor to the person you're going to speak to. It's not a bribe, it's just a token. If you have a problem, a complaint, and you want to be heard, you bring this small gift. It's not a bribe to try to get it your way. I think it's more or less a gift to be heard. The first one to plead his cause seems right until his neighbor comes and examines him. That's why we say there's always two sides to a disagreement. There's always two opinions in an argument. So, again, to wisely listen to both sides of the argument, you'll be able to discern truth from error, right from wrong. And you use the wisdom that God's given you to discern who's telling the truth and who's making up a fabrication. The casting of lots causes contentions to cease and keeps the mighty apart. Let me back up. I don't think I read this last part. Until his neighbor comes and examines him. Again, so here's both sides looked at. The casting of lots. Now, this is not playing rock, paper, scissors. This is when they used to put the lots in a bag and they would throw the lots and ask for a decision. It was when the example would be when the high priest reached into the breastplate and the vest that he would wear, and he would pull out either the white rock or the black rock, and that would be considered the decision from God, because it was something he wasn't attempting to do on his own. It was just something that he felt sure in his heart that it was the leading of the Lord. So the casting of lots. And again, it only is successful if both people say, "Hey, you know what? Let's throw this lot out. Let's choose a lot, and whoever wins, we will believe that that's the decision we have been given from God." He doesn't change it to the best two out of three or five out of seven, etc., etc. Whatever the lot comes up as, that's the decision of God, and that's the decision they stick with, and keeps the mighty apart. Uh, no reason to fight if you have a decision from God. A brother offended is harder to win than a strong city. Contentions are like the bars of a castle. So, an offended brother, one who's been wounded in some way by a course of action that you've taken that doesn't seem to, uh, it's kind of one of those things that, why would you do that? What's your reasoning behind that? It's kind of when something gets caught in your craw, when the craw of a chicken, they would choke when they ate something that they couldn't swallow. So here's the guy who can't swallow what's been done to him, and he builds up resentment. And this always is a problem until they can sit down face to face and speak to each other and give an explanation as to why something was done. But listen, he's harder to win than a strong city. When there's a violation of trust and when there's a appears to be a breach in the love that they have for one another, there will be a problem. There will be a problem. And contentions are like the bars of a castle. Uh, what's the greatest contention that one can have in an argument? I'm always right. Self preservation. No respect for anything the other person would say because you will not be moved in your decision that you are right and you won't bend at all. A man's stomach will be satisfied from the fruit of his mouth, from the produce of his lips he shall be filled. Sweet words, kind words, words that build up, words that encourage, words that not so much as flattery, but words of encouragement to strengthen the relationship. And it says here that his he'll be satisfied. There's a satisfaction in telling the truth and building somebody up, not being a liar, not being a liar, but being truthful and speaking good words, kind words, words of edification. Death and life are in the power of the tongue, and those who love it will eat its fruit. Tongue waggers, either for good or for bad. Let's go to James chapter 3 because this is the chapter that talks about the untamable tongue. Let's pick up here. If anyone does not stumble in word, he is a perfect man, a mature man. We're picking up in verse 2, able to bring to bridle the whole body. Indeed, if we put bits in horses' mouths, that they may obey us, and we turn their whole body. Look at ships, although they are so large, they are driven by fierce winds. They are turned by a small rudder wherever the pilot desires. Now, he's talking about the tongue now, and he says, even so, the tongue is a little member and boasts great things. I remember as a kid, somebody said, try to hold your tongue still. And so you grabbed your tongue and you could still wiggle it. It would not be held in place. Well, this is in part what a bridle does. The bridle on a horse puts pressure on that horse's tongue, and he's willing to go to the left or the right because he doesn't want to have that pressure exerted on that tongue. He says, the tongue is a fire, a world of iniquity. The tongue is so set among members that it defiles the whole body and sets on fire the course of nature. It is set on the fire by hell. For every kind of beast and bird and reptile and creature of the sea is tamed and must be tamed by mankind. But here, listen to this. But no man can tame the tongue, for it is an unruly evil full of deadly poison. With it we bless God and our Father, and with it we curse men who have been made in the similitude of God. Out of the same mouth, proceed blessing and cursing. My brethren, these things ought not to be so. And then he goes on and he talks about the good spring and the bad spring. And the inference here is let God control your tongue. Let God control your tongue. We talked about it a little bit earlier. Be a man of few words. Be a man who can um, not have to have the floor all the time to convince people of how knowledgeable he is, but let your words be few, and so that people can see from your words that you are a man of reason, wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. All right, let's go back. He who finds a wife finds a good thing. Wow. So, ladies, Let's see if you're a good thing or not. She's a complement. She's a helpmeet. She's a companion. She's a defender. She's the one who 9 times out of 10 she's got your back, and she does what's best for you so that you look good. Now, believe it or not, this is important work in a woman. It says that a woman is a crown for a man's head. She's his crowning glory. So we can be that type of a wife, or have that kind of a wife, or we can have the wife that it says again earlier that uh, she's the dripping faucet. She's always a contention. She's always one who brings uh, things that aren't good to bear. And she's not an ointment for a sore. She's an agitation to a sore. Poor man uses entreaties, but the rich man answers roughly. The poor man here is the one who prays earnestly. Oh Lord, I come before you, and this is the only place I can go. Lord, you please hear me. You need to give me wisdom. But the rich answer roughly. A lot of times the rich in their pride think they deserve better than they get. And that's a tough, terrible thing. So uh, they have an attitude that they deserve better. The rich always think that they deserve better. A true man who loves the Lord understands that the only thing that we deserve on our own is hell. And it's only by God's love and wisdom that we can achieve a stature of being a son of God and dwelling in the heavenlies. A man who has friends must himself be friendly. Now, it's interesting. The word friends there almost talks as though it would be someone who would be an adversary. But we don't want to have friends that are adversarial. We want to have friends that are true and loyal and just, and they're the ones who have our back and don't try to use us to build themselves up. It says he must himself be friendly. And then he says, but there is a friend who sticks closer than a brother. I always say, treat others like you want to be treated. And this is applicable in a marriage. Ladies, treat your husband like you want to be treated. Men, treat your wife like you want to be treated. And don't do it for paybacks, but do it because it's an honest, earnest gesture of how you feel about them. So, what we're to do is just, I treat my friends like I want to be treated. I don't stab them in the back. You don't want to be one who talks about your friends behind their backs and tries to uh, point out their weaknesses. Always be one who points out the strength of your friends, and you'll gain a friend for life. Well, that's Proverbs 18. And again, look, we just came through a very, very rough election that's not settled yet. And a lot of people are freaking out. What are we going to do? My guy didn't win. My guy didn't win. Well, here you go, believer. Trust God. Trust God. Who's got your back? God does. Who will protect you? God will. Who has been a strong tower for you? God is. Don't freak out about the results of the election. Freak out because there's a whole group of individuals who are going to hell and need to be saved. And use your time wisely and earnestly in praying for those people who need to come to a knowledge of the truth. You have a job. We have a job as Christians, and that's to give the gospel to those who have never heard it. And so maybe that's your political opponent, and they need to learn that the Lord loves them, no matter how they vote, that the Lord loves them and wants to change their hearts and minds and bring them into the true faith. Amen. Amen. Well, until tomorrow, you have a good day. Be fruitful in the things of the Lord, and may God richly bless you.